Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Deziel and today I'm showing you a variation of the shawl collar. We're going to do it away from the neck a little bit and with a very large lapel. For today's demonstration of a wide and away from the neck shawl collar, I'm going to be using my tailor block that is available in my Etsy boutique, and it's just like that in cardboard. My block is 5-piece for the bodice. So starting at the center back, I have the side back panel, I have the side panel, the side front, and the center front. The block also includes a tailor sleeve, so the sleeve in 2-piece. To do the construction of the shawl collar, you're going to need to trace the back part. I did trace my center back and my side panel. And we're going to need it to modify the neck and do the verification. For the front, I also traced the center front piece and the side front, but I did keep a lot of paper at the center front and at the shoulder because I needed to develop my shawl collar. Now, to be able to do the style that we'll need later on, you're going to have to retrace the top part of the side front panel, but right next to the princess line, so just like that. And you're going to trace it because we want to know where the lapel is going to fall. You might use a different color because it's not your pattern piece. It's really just to be able to see the size and the shape of the lapel. Now for the construction of the shawl collar, I usually do it in 8 steps, and we have 3 additional steps for the verification of the fall of the collar. The first step is usually the overlap. If you don't have any overlap, you just skip that step. Now for today's example, I'm going to go to the maximum overlap I could have, and the maximum is the measurement from your apex to the center front. Here I have 10.5 centimeter. Then I'm going to add this measurement for my overlap on the other side of my center front. Number 1 is done. The number 2 is going to be to find your breaking point. So where do you want the lapel to start rolling? For this example, I'm going to do it at the waist level. Now before going to the third step, we're going to have to modify the neckline because we want a wider collar away from the neck. And the reason is that if you do have a normal stand collar 4 centimeter or less, you don't have to do no modification and it will fit properly. But if you do have a wider collar, you're going to have to enlarge the neck, just like this one, because the measurement of the stand collar has to cover a higher part on your head. So you could see here, I put it on the side view, but you could see that the head is going out. And it's the same thing on the side also where you have your ears. The head is coming out. That's why for wider collar, you need to enlarge your neck. Now, how much you're going to enlarge, it all depends on how much you want the collar to go up. And just like I showed in my last video, if you want to modify the neck, you have to do it on both back and front. Take your back bodice and fold your paper exactly at the shoulder line. Then place it right next to your front. Now, how much are we going to enlarge the neck? It all depends on how much you want for your stand collar. If you want only a centimeter bigger than the 4 centimeter, so a stand collar of maybe 5 centimeter, then maybe just 1 centimeter enlarge would be enough. But if you want a very wide stand collar, like a 8 centimeter, then maybe you're going to enlarge 2 or 2.5 centimeter. For today's example, I'm going to enlarge my neck by 2.5. Now for today's example, since it's a shawl collar, I'm not going to need a front neckline, but just to be able to trace it anyway, I'm going to use that same 2.5 centimeter at the center front. And at the center back, because I don't want it too much away from the neck, I'm just going to drop my neckline by 5 millimeters. Now I'm going to retrace about 3 centimeters square from the center back. Then I'm just going to retrace my neckline in a nice continuous line. Now we could separate the piece. Then to avoid confusion, I suggest that you erase the original neckline on both back and front. Now we're ready for the step 3, that is going to be to determine the stand collar that we want for this shawl collar. We're going to do it in the same angle as the shoulder towards the center front. For today's example, I'm going to do a wide collar with a stand collar of 8 centimeters. So you're going to place your 8 centimeters from the neck point in the angle of the shoulder, and I want you to do just a dot. Don't trace the line because that could be confusing. Just a dot at 8 centimeters for today's example. And that's my number 3. Now the number 4 is going to be to trace a line that's going to be the fold line from my point number 2 to the point number 3 and extend it towards the top. Now the next point, number 5, is going to be to indicate the back neckline on that fold line. So to get it, you're going to go on your back and measure the new neckline of the back. Here I got 11 centimeters. Now from the point number 3, you're going to report towards the top your back neck measurement. For me, it was 11 centimeters. My point number 5, that is the back neckline, has to be doubled because we have to redo that segment parallel to this one all the way to the neck and shoulder point of the front. So you could trace parallel line until you reach your neck and shoulder point of the front. Even if we know that the stand collar is 8. Since there is angle here, it's possible that it gets a little more or a little less than your 8 centimeters. But the important is that you reach that neck and shoulder point. And you're going to trace again that 11 centimeters for the back neckline measurement. Now the point 5 was the back neck measurement. I have it twice. I'm not going to need the first one anymore. This is the one we'll be working with. The point number 6 now is going to be to trace 90 degrees from the back neckline, touching the final measurement here, and you're going to trace a square line towards the center front. And just extend it wide because we know we have a wide collar. So this is my step 6, and this line is my center back line. The step 6 is done. We're now going to do the step 7. That is going to be to trace the shape that we want the lapel to be. And that number 7 is going to also be doubled because we have to do the mirror to report it on the other side of the fold line. You remember that at the beginning we did trace a little bit the armhole of the front. So that's to guide you. You might want a very wide collar that even go over the shoulder. That will be up to you. But if you do, you're going to have to elongate the shoulder. It's also just as a guide. So you could use your red collar again. So you could elongate as much as you want. If you want the collar to be a lot wider, just elongate as much as you need. Then to trace the lapel shape, you must look from the fold line towards the side seam. And when you trace from point number 2, the breaking point, all the way to the shoulder. Now we're talking about a very wide collar. So this is my step 7, and I have to duplicate that step by folding on my fold line. So my step number 4 was the fold line. I'm going to fold here so I could report my line number 7 on the other side. Once your paper is folded, you could retrace your line number 7 and indicate the shoulder level. Now you could see that my line number 7 was reported in mirror on the other side of my fold line. And again, to make sure there's no confusion, you might want to erase a little bit of your line 7 just to make sure you're not going to use it anymore. The construction is almost finished. We have one more step to do, and it's step number 8. It's going to be to close the back part of the fall of the collar. And we're going to close that space by tracing 90 degrees from the center back line, so number 6, touching the shoulder and number 7, just like that. Here you go, you finish your technique for your shawl collar. Now in the next step, it's going to be the verification and opening the back part of your collar. And I'm going to do it in 3 more steps that I will call A, B, and C. The step was number 1, overlap. Number 2 was the breaking point. Number 3 was the stand collar measurement. Number 4 was the fold line. Number 5 was the back neckline. So we had it twice, first on the fold line, and we reported parallel all the way touching the neck and shoulder point. Number 6 was a square line to do the center back of the collar. Number 7 was the shape of your lapel that we duplicate also on the other side of the fold line. And number 8 was to close the back part of the fall. Now to complete the pattern, there's a second part where we do the verification of the fall in the back. And most of the time there is a development to do. And to make sure that I take all the time needed to explain exactly what we're doing and how we're going to do it, I decide to put the second part, the verification, in a second video. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you come back for my next video. I'm showing you how to do the verification and the development for the back of the collar so we have the perfect fall.